Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Q&A with us, the British Fist.
Coaching.
With me, Mr. Parkin, and, well, you figured out a new little hand gesture there, Andrew. That's all fine and good. Keeping things fresh here at the British Fist. One thing that will never die, though, is what NJ's about to do. Subscribe to us. Also, like this video and comment any thoughts you have on the questions you've answered down in the comment section below.
And make sure you contact us in the links in the description box below.
Yeah, so make sure you keep sending us in questions. We have had an abundance of questions on these Q&As so far. We've still got about 10 pages of questions left, but you can still keep giving us your questions as we keep going through these Q&As via many methods, which will be in the description box below, as NJ said earlier. Now, going on to this Q&A, we have the first question from RGP Rich Porter. That's the name. Will Triple H have 3 Hall of Fame rings as well, putting him on the same level as Flair as Evolution/DX were inducted, because we all know he's going to get one for his solo career.
But I think with Triple H being a big ego maniac he is, I think he should get a big special ring. Not only was that bit because all your knuckles, they're horrible. I think you should just get, a big one with probably his logo that Scully has right there.
I think it's quite funny that even you as a Triple H fan admits that he has a big ego.
Oh, he does, so
it just goes to show you're an unbiased fan. I reckon they should give him like 3 Hall of Fame rings all embedded into one, like put them all there. One for Evolution, one for DX, one for just himself. Just have a massive like version of the brass knucks on his knuckles there, just saying like WWE, like NJ said, or something like that. Or the, no, actually wouldn't work. The game or something, I don't know. But he will definitely get one for his singles career, definitely. Evolution will hopefully get in. That's more depending on Batista. DX will get in eventually, so he will at least have 2, like Flair. In pro wrestling, is it better or worse to be English as far as pushes and title shots? When was the last time we had an English world champion?
So flipping close with Barrett. So
flipping close. In what way? He's been involved in a couple of title matches.
No,
big deal.
To actually hold it. I know that with this close, you could have held it if the WWE weren't sucking something.
Well, the Americans' cocks, the casual fans' penises, however many ways you want to say it. I don't know, really. I mean, like I said, when was the last time we had an English world champion? I mean, you have to go as far back as... When was the last time we had a British... Never. I don't think we have we? Apart from Sheamus, but he's technically from Ireland, so he doesn't really count as British or English, as this person's put it. So as far as pushes and title shots go, it's worse to be English than American, because let's face it, Americans, unless you're going to be a big heel in WWE, then Vince McMahon and his American company ain't going to push you all the way. It's just the way it is.
Sooner than later, we can all give 3 cheers to Barrett.
I don't know about that right now. Give me 2 years ago, I would have said yes. Now I'm like, no, I don't know. What is your favourite pay-per-view match featuring a celebrity? I must admit... What?
WrestleMania with Austin and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. WrestleMania 14 with Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mike Tyson as the special guest enforcer. That will also be my favourite match of a celebrity. What about the Vince McMahon and Donald Trump thing they did at WrestleMania 23? That was pretty good. No? World record buy rates? No? Nothing?
Doesn't work for me. No.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. TNA 2005 asked us 5 questions. Here we go. Rank this as the most amazing to only amazing fantasy and possible matches in the future. Aries versus Joe, Ultimate Submission match. Bad Influence versus British Invasion. Matt Morgan versus Samoa Joe, Last Man Standing. Angle versus Magnus. Gail Kim versus Beth Phoenix. AJ versus Austin Aries in an Iron Man match. Or Ion versus P.D. Williams in an Ion finisher versus Sea Destroyer.
Well, straight away, the thing that really stood out for me was 2. You had the... Matt Morgan, Samoa Joe main event style match where it looks like Matt Morgan may be trying to go to, so that kind of stands out to me, and Angle and Magnus. 2 that stand out for me here, AJ versus Aries in an Iron Man match. I'd definitely like to see that. Gail Kim versus Beth Phoenix. I think that could be a good match as well. So out of those 2, out of all those matches you've said there, those are the 2 that stand out for me, whereas NJ has another 2 that stand out to him. Until Aries' title reign this year, for the 10-year of the TNA/NWA World Championship was always the main event. It wasn't like a mid-card. Now even Hardy is that, and that's ridiculous. When do you think the champ will again be what he should be, the main event, not for 1 week, but for the title reign, and who has to be a champ? Bully Ray. I mean, he's the leader of the biggest faction, and he's the top heel in TNA right now. So, to be honest with you, that's where they have gone there with Bully Ray now. He's the champion, he's the top heel, he's going to be in the main events of this Aces and Eights angle, so... For some reason, I do like this cup of tea.
Cup of tea. It's not really my cup of tea, NJ, I'm afraid.
No.
I'm more of a soft drink kind of guy. Who should have a talk show in TNA? and think of this, who would benefit more and need it more?
Aries. Well,
Austin Aries. That wouldn't be a bad idea for a talk show. The Aries time. I don't know.
you see him in suits sometimes. You see him all smart, always on the mic talking. Think he's better than everyone else. You got it right there.
Yeah, I mean, why not do it similar to what they did with Edge, Jericho, Christian? Why not give him his own little talk show kind of thing? Who do you think will give you the mark-out moment in 2013 in wrestling, TNA and WWE? Where and how? I've already have. It's always about the X Division. That's not that on TV. Okay, so the biggest. What do we think will be the biggest mark-out moment of the year?
It's already happened.
What is it?
Bully Ray's World Heavyweight Champion.
That was a mark-out moment. It was more like a kind of like, thank God it finally got here kind of moment.
Well, it's still going to happen. He's probably going to face bigger names somewhere down the line. If he goes on to face Angle and beats Angle, that'd be like Bully Ray beating an Angle. So it's going to be Bully Ray.
Yeah, it'll be very hard for TNA to top last year's mark-out moment, which was Austin Aries winning the belt at Destination X. So who knows? Who knows? I'm just trying to think here. I'm not really sure what would really give me a mark-out moment apart from maybe Hogan getting back in the ring.
Or what is expected to happen sooner or later is the return of
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
For Eric's sake.
If Petey Williams would go Manchester and give a Sea Destroyer to all the players of both town teams on the field, but them not knowing how to do it safely, who would win the Premier League this year? Probably Chelsea. RFV089. Who do you think will next be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame? I have a strong feeling that it will be Kurt Angle because I think they're going to do it so Angle doesn't get into the WWE Hall of Fame.
I see that, but again, for the early picks, the early people going in, unless they're going to wait till they're in a more bigger place in the world, I think Jarrett's going to get in sooner or later.
I don't think he'll go in yet because I think Jarrett knows he can get in whenever he likes, and it's right about now where TNA needs to hold this talent like Kurt Angle, like the Stings, the AJ Styleses, and get them inducted first as they were important players. They'll induct Jeff Jarrett down the line. That's what I think.
It's just a shame that the TNA are all like, oh, we're worried. We can't let WWE have their own wrestlers back.
Well, that's very true. You can see where they're coming from. They don't want Kurt Angle to be put in the WWE Hall of Fame when they could put them in the TNA Hall of Fame, where he's had six to 7 years. So there we go. Do you think when Miz finishes his wrestling career, he'll go into announcing? Why not? That'll be alright, wouldn't it?
Ring announcing, actually in the ring. Instead of commentary, you could be in the ring, does all these great speaks, and yeah, I think it'd be great. Which
current wrestlers part of TNA roster do you think will be inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame? AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, maybe Christopher Daniels. Those are the three that stand out to me in terms of the kind of guys that have been there for a long time.
Samoa Joe.
Yeah. Do you think that if Austin Aries joined WWE, he would win the world title and therefore have the honor of saying that he won all 3 world titles for the 3 major wrestling companies? I don't really think ROH is a major wrestling company, but I see what you mean. I think if Austin Aries joined WWE, there's a good chance that he might, kind of similar to CM Punk, but I wouldn't trust WWE in booking Aries as a main event guy for the long term.
The way I see it is with Aries, I think he'll be one of the ones that WWE eventually would look at being a Mr. Money in the Bank holder and go on to win the championship that way. Other than that, I don't see him WWE thinking main eventer there.
It's the kind of guy they'd give him Money in the Bank to and have him win it a cheap way rather than a really great way that TNA did last year at Destination X against the longest reigning champion Bobby Roode. What do you think of ROH's production values? I've seen parts of TNA's first episode in 2002 and they had better production values than ROH currently has. The production values in ROH were, well, let's put it this way. They had an investment from the Sinclair Broadcasting Group. The show was pretty boring. We both know that. I know that. The production values were just not good enough for, were just not good enough for ROH. I'm sorry, they just weren't good enough. What was your opinion on the Matt Hardy versus Edge feud before Edge became a main eventer? This is a good one, wasn't it? The best feuds sometimes are the ones that feel real, and this one definitely felt real because the issue was real. This was an actual real-life feud.
The way they set this up, you could say, yes, it was the real-life feud that made this feud, but I think the way they did it, the way they got their hate each other, the way it led on to a Kane feud, I think this was one of the best feuds Matt Hardy's been in before he went on to Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, the Matt Hardy Edge feud, like I said, it felt real, and it was real, and those are the feuds that generally feel the best because they're real. Mr. Killer Relic 2008. What do you think is the best looking championship belt in today's day and age? I've always loved the IC belt. The IC belt is fantastic to me.
Spinner belt, shut the fuck up. It's none other than the World Heavyweight.
The World Heavyweight. Both 2 good looking belts, would you say? I mean, imagine if you had the World Heavyweight and I had the IC belt, how good that would look in our videos. Super Saiyan Jin 11. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. Do you ever think Kurt Angle will ever return to WWE? He says he's going to retire in 2 to 3 years, which I think is a good time for Kurt Angle to retire after all the beat up he's beat up body. Imagine, I mean, I don't know. I guess if WWE came in and said you can have a year with us.
There's a lot of people in TNA who used to be in WWE, but Kurt Angle, being the guy he is and the match he's put on, I think he's one of the ones that could come back to the WWE and the fans would mark out for.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see it happening personally, but if he's going to retire in 2 to 3 years, then no, I don't see him returning to WWE if that is indeed the case. And this may sound crazy as hell, but what if Jack Swagger won the World Heavyweight Championship, then Kurt came in to challenge this whole American thing by saying he's a fake American, and they feud giving Kurt the title one last time before he retires? I'm not so sure about that.
Good storytelling there, but I don't think Kurt Angle would want to face Jack Swagger.
At Ryan Monroe 6 from Twitter, who is the Schleg Daddy and Mr. Rout of the British Fist? Well, no, you can't really compare us to that. I mean, I must admit there have been some comparisons of me and the Schleg Daddy. I'm not going to deny that. I'm a big fan of the Schleg Daddy, but I'm Mr. Parkin and this is NJ. You know, we're nothing to do with our throat show. So.
I don't know who those two are, so next question.
Noah James, aka at I Talk Wrestling on Twitter. What were your years in high school like? What classes did you take? My high school years were okay, I guess. I mean, like, they didn't get better for me until I went into sixth form, which was the last 2 years of school when I made, like, my proper friends rather than the friends I hung around with in the early years, which I didn't really see as friends. The classes took biology, geography, maths, English, chemistry, and I can't remember what the other one was. I took 6 Spanish. Those are the 6 classes I took. I took loads in high school, but I'm talking more about my later high school years here.
School was pretty a boring time, which you do expect, because even though they say school is the best years of your lives before you go out to work loads, but the way I see it is that most of my big events were happening outside school, so school weren't really that much of a big deal to me, but I did work hard. I did IT, I did obviously the English, maths, science, and all that rubbish. But yes, my biggest subject was the health, social, and IT.
Which led on to your career path choice, so useful. What's your favourite pastime besides making videos for YouTube? Favourite pastimes involve, I guess, playing football for me. I've always enjoyed playing football. What?
Guitar, there we go.
Guitar Hero.
And the other
FIFA.
guitars.
Well, yeah, there's that as well. What about your pastimes? I can't really think of favourite pastimes. I'm so currently focused on the present and future. That's the problem with me.
Richard, the 2 I have is number 1. As you've noticed, I watch recommended movies or TV series. I enjoyed that. And the other is work.
What is your most recent movie you have seen? Did you consider it to be good or bad? The last movie I watched was Euro Trip with my mate Chris, and that was a fucking awesome movie. I've watched that about 10 times, and me and my mate still laugh at it.
Good one. I haven't actually seen it recently, but if I pick a movie, I watched 2 last night. And that was Misery, which is a Stephen King novel turned into a movie, and I watched The Hand That Walked the Cradle. Do
you enjoy reading? If you do in fact enjoy reading, what books do you read? I don't read all that much. The only books I've read are like sort of autobiographies like Jeremy Clarkson and Carl Pilkington, Frankie Boyle, Charlie Brooker, people that I'm actually, celebrities and comedians that I'm actually interested in. I read a lot of Clarkson's books. Other than that, I don't really do that much reading at all. I'd say that autobiographies are one of my most read books. Others would be Stephen King novels, and the last autobiography I read, which I really liked, was Shawn Michaels. I need to read some wrestling autobiographies, actually. Mr. Killer Relic 2008 asks another question. Should have put these 2 together, really. Do you think TNA would have come into existence if WCW was still around today? Excuse me, I've just had a bowl of cereal. No. If WCW was still around, then Jeff Jarrett never would have been out of a job and never would have made TNA. So no, it wouldn't have been in existence because there wouldn't have been any need to make a TNA to try and compete with WWE. I'd say no, but I would hope that there would be still another third wrestling company come in, just not taken over by Jarrett. It was ever gonna be ROH, so you never know. Scorpion Reviewer. Do you agree with WrestleMania 30 taking place in New Orleans instead of Madison Square Gardens? I mean, I believe you had the first WrestleMania take place in Madison Square Gardens, the 10th and the 20th. So generally you'd think the 30th would have been done at Madison Square Gardens, but I can also understand it in the fact that Madison Square Garden doesn't hold anywhere near as many people as, say, the New Orleans Stadium. But I do think they should have gone with tradition and gone with Madison Square Gardens, as it is a big wrestling place to go for WrestleMania. I do agree that New Orleans, again, going to different places, depending on the size of the arena and stuff, it is the best way to go. But with Madison Square Garden being the arena that wrestlers can relate to, wrestlers want to go to, Vince keeps complimenting, I do
I expect there to be a WrestleMania there soon.
And the most history as well involved. Sweet Latte 18. What do you think is going to happen to Swagger after he got arrested for weed? I don't think anything's going to happen. I think as soon as the Glenn Beck thing came in, WWE kind of just forgot about it and thought they'd carry on with the storyline. Unless they're going to do something after his push, which probably will end at Extreme Rules after a rematch with Del Rio. I don't really think they're going to do all that much, or they would have done it already.
Here's my biggest hope, which is the keyword hope. When they get to WrestleMania, there's 2 ways they could do it. Number 1, Del Rio retains. Number 2, Swagger wins, but in comes Dolph Ziggler to cash in straight away.
Despite the fact that he's in a tag title match.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. If Rock wins at WrestleMania 29, who do you think will win the WWE title if it is vacated on Raw? So if Rock won the WWE, if Rock retained and then went, who would win if it was vacated on Raw? Probably John Cena.
Number 1, Rock is scheduled to be here for the next WrestleMania. If he was to disappear for some time after, I think the champion would sadly be
John Cena. Doesn't even want to say it. What's your dream heel stable versus faces stable match, past or present? I think take DX and take NWO and you'd have a pretty damn good match there. Have NWO as the heels, have DX as the faces. You know, that would be a pretty damn good match. I'm talking like Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, and Billy Gunn versus Hogan, Nash, and Hall, and maybe, you know, someone like who else joined NWO? Sting, X-Pac or something? I don't know. But that would be good.
If I had to think of another one, where the question is any stable, it is any company, then I'll go with probably back in the old day, let's say the McMahon Helmsley faction versus, let's say, a WCW or TNA big faction.
You could do 4 Horsemen versus like Evolution. That would be pretty good. But that's purely fantasy. What other sport do you think these wrestlers could have played? Rock, HBK, Taker, Austin, Hogan, Sting, Triple H, Cena, and Punk.
Sport. Okay.
I can't really answer this question because we don't really know what they're very good at. I see where you're coming from here.
Well, I cancel it down a little bit. Rock was American football before he came into
Taker was basketball.
Sting, I'd say go with same as Taker. Hogan, painting, boring.
Who knows? Let's just move on. Kite Line 1. How epic would it be if Raw had a full crowd of smart marks instead of casual fans? You know what? It would be good for one show, but then it would get to the point where heels would be cheered so much and baby faces would be booed so much that it would affect the presentation of the product for casual fans that were watching the show. So I'd say for one show, like for example the Raw after WrestleMania 28, fine, but not on a regular basis. I wouldn't do that, or else it would just really disrupt the presentation of the product.
I do think that casual fans, as much as we complain about them, are the fans that are tuning each week, being the ones to pay the money, and they're the ones who obviously want to see what Vince got his eyes on. So
and the ones that WWE are trying to appeal to because they're a majority right now.
So they're definitely needed, but obviously for the fans that complain about the casuals, it would be beneficial, more relaxed in some aspect.
If WWE going hardcore in the late 90s become popular and got better ratings, why aren't they going hardcore now when it's proven that it is what people like and could probably triple their ratings? Let's put it this way. The Attitude Era was a specific point in time, and they can't just do the same stuff now in an era of different political correctness, you know, different societal values, different societal views. That Attitude Era was the perfect timing at that time. If you try and recreate the Attitude Era now, I'm sorry, but it just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't.
And I think because the fans have come to realise that the Attitude Era has come and gone, I do believe that they're going to accept that it's gone, and they've got to try and get used to what they're giving now.
I mean, we can't keep living in the past, people. I mean, the Attitude Era was at a time when wrestling was really good, and we know wrestling isn't that great now, of course, we've seen, but you can't just keep living in the past. You have to move on, unfortunately. So the Attitude Era, even if they tried to do it again, wouldn't work. Mr. Anonymous User, who will be fired in 2013, WWE and TNA. TNA, I don't really know. We'll start with WWE first. In WWE, I think the Usos might end up getting fired.
I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but it's none of Brad Maddox.
Brad Maddox. I think the way it's going right now, Alex Riley could be fired. Yoshitatsu could be fired. I'm just looking at it logically here. There are others. Kali.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about TNA? I mean, TNA, I'm not sure if they could really afford to fire anyone because they need to add to their X division. They need to add to their knockouts.
Simple. Some of the 8 and 8 members, they're not going to go anywhere.
Or when the storyline finishes, maybe then. But I think that this is a way of introducing them to the roster. So I don't see them getting fired personally, like the Garrett Bischoffs, etc. I'd love to say Garrett Bischoff, but unfortunately, he is part of this group. They're obviously going to push him, so I can't really say that. But there we go. That has been a Q&A with us, the British Fist.
Go, Jim.
Keep posting your questions down in the comment section below, or through inboxing us, Facebooking us, or using the Twitter hashtag BritishFistQA. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll now pass you over to our usual outro specialist, NJ.
Thank you very much for watching, people. This has been another Q&A. Hopefully, with your work and your questions, there'll be many more to come. And from Mr. Parkin and me, NJ, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.